Alien women pulled him into her private shelter and demanded a steamy payment in full. Crash and Covenant. The world became fire and screaming metal as Joran Reed's scout ship tore through Thessra's atmosphere, magnetic lightning shredding his shields like paper. He had seconds to register the crystalline surface rushing toward him before impact crushed consciousness from his body. He woke to softness and strange warmth, his lungs burning with air that tasted of minerals and something sweet he couldn't name. Pain radiated through his ribs, but gentle pressure held him still. Through blurred vision, he saw her, a figure bathed in blue-green light, her skin marked with subtle patterns that seemed to shift like water, her eyes reflecting the bioluminescence surrounding them. "You live," she said, her voice carrying harmonics that resonated in his chest. "I am Valera Sen, keeper of this refuge. You crashed near the sacred boundary, and I brought you inside." Joran tried to sit, but her hand pressed firmly against his shoulder. Despite the gentleness, he felt immense strength behind the gesture. "Thank you. I need to contact my—" "Nothing functions here during the storm season," Valera interrupted, settling beside him on the smooth stone floor. "You will remain until the magnetic interference clears. 14 cycles, perhaps more. 14 days. Panic edged into his voice. "My crew will think I'm dead." "Perhaps. But you are alive, and that survival carries obligation." Her eyes held his, unblinking and serious. "Among my people, shelter is sacred exchange. I have given you refuge, healing, protection. Now you must restore balance." "I don't understand." Valera's expression softened slightly, though determination remained beneath it. "Every life saved disrupts the natural flow. To maintain equilibrium, you must pay for your survival, not with currency or labor, but with something far more valuable. Your truth. Your vulnerability. Your essence shared with mine." Joran's pulse quickened as her words settled over him. "What exactly does that mean?" "It means, Joran Reed, that for the next 14 cycles, you belong to me. And I will take my payment in full." Memories in the glow. The refuge was unlike anything Joran had ever seen. Crystalline walls pulsed with soft light that seemed to breathe, casting dancing shadows across chambers carved deep into Thessra's crust. Valera moved through the space with practiced grace, preparing what she called the first extraction. "Sit," she instructed, gesturing to a circular platform surrounded by luminescent pools. "The payment begins with memory, your most protected one, the moment that shaped who you are." Joran hesitated. "I don't know if I can just summon that on command." "You won't have to." Valera knelt before him, close enough that he could see the intricate patterns decorating her temples, smell the faint mineral scent of her skin. "I will draw it forth. But you must permit me access." She raised her hand slowly, giving him time to refuse. When he didn't pull away, her fingers touched his temples with unexpected warmth. The contact sent a shiver through his entire body, not unpleasant, but intensely intimate, as if she'd reached past skin and bone directly into his soul. The memory surfaced unbidden. Elena, his former partner, standing in the observation deck as he chose exploration over staying with her. The words he'd said, duty before love, always. The look in her eyes as she walked away. The years of regret he'd buried beneath countless missions. Tears stung Joran's eyes as Valera witnessed it all, her consciousness intertwined with his. She didn't speak, didn't judge, only absorbed the pain and loneliness he'd carried like cargo too heavy to jettison. When she finally withdrew her hands, they were both breathing hard. "That." Joran's voice cracked. "That was necessary," Valera finished, but her expression had changed. Something vulnerable flickered in her eyes. "Your sorrow is heavier than I expected. It resonates with my own. You've lost someone." She stood abruptly, turning toward the pools. "The second payment will come tomorrow. Rest now. The extraction takes much from both of us." But as she walked away, Joran saw her hand tremble slightly, and he wondered what memories his had awakened in her. The price of touch. Joran woke to find Valera sitting at the edge of the luminescent pool, her reflection fragmented in the rippling water. She'd been there for hours, he sensed, wrestling with something unspoken. "The second payment," she said without turning. "It requires physical resonance. Our energies must align, balance must be restored through direct contact." "You mean?" Joran sat up carefully, his ribs still tender. "Not what you assume, necessarily." Valera finally faced him, and for the first time, he saw uncertainty in her features. "Among my people, energy exchange is sacred. It can be as simple as sustained touch or as complex as—" She paused, "as intimate as two beings wish to make it. The choice is yours." Joran crossed the chamber slowly until he stood before her. "And what do you wish?" The question hung between them like the crystalline formations overhead. Valera's breath caught slightly. "I am a keeper. I should wish only for balance, for the ritual completed efficiently. But yesterday, when I touched your memories, I felt something I've denied for years. Loneliness that mirrors my own." "Then maybe," Joran said softly, reaching for her hand, "we both need more than efficiency." Their fingers intertwined, and immediately warmth spread up Joran's arm, not the clinical extraction of yesterday, but something alive, electric, wanting. Valera's eyes widened as she felt it too, the barrier between duty and desire crumbling. She guided him back to the platform, and what began as formal ritual transformed into genuine exploration. His hands learned the texture of her skin, the way patterns along her shoulders responded to touch with subtle luminescence. Her fingers traced the scars on his chest, each one a story she absorbed without words. When their lips finally met, it felt like discovery and homecoming simultaneously. The refuge's light intensified around them, responding to their shared energy, and time became meaningless in the glow. Hours later, wrapped in each other beneath the crystal ceiling, Valera whispered against his shoulder, "This wasn't supposed to happen." "I know," Joran replied, holding her closer. "But I'm not sorry it did." Bonds beyond balance. The cycles blurred together in a haze of shared existence. Valera showed Joran the deepest chambers of the refuge, places she'd never revealed to any rescued soul before. They spoke of worlds and philosophies, of the loneliness that came with duty, of dreams abandoned for responsibility. "When I was young," Valera confessed one evening as they floated in the warm mineral pools, "I wanted to explore beyond the Sahara. To see other worlds, meet other species. But keepers are chosen for life. We cannot leave our refuges for more than brief periods." Joran pulled her closer, water rippling around them. "Is that why you understand my memory so well? You made the same choice, duty over desire." "Yes. Except—" She hesitated, her fingers tracing patterns on his chest. "I'm beginning to question if I chose correctly." Their lovemaking that night carried a desperate edge, as if both sensed the approaching end. Valera revealed the final cost with tears in her eyes as dawn light filtered through crystal formations. "The third payment is the cruelest," she whispered. "To maintain my sacred neutrality, I must erase all memory of those I shelter once they leave. It's how keepers remain impartial, how we can continue serving without attachment. When rescue comes, I will remember pulling you from wreckage, healing your wounds, but everything else, every conversation, every touch, every moment we've shared, will be gone." Joran felt his heart shatter. There has to be another way. "There isn't. Unless—" Valera's voice broke, "unless you never leave. But that would make me oathbreaker, exile. My people would cast me out, strip my title, forbid me from ever keeping refuge again. And if I stay willingly, then we face that exile together. But Joran, this is your life, your career, your whole world waiting beyond these storms. I cannot ask you to sacrifice everything for something that began as obligation." "It stopped being obligation the moment I saw you cry over my memories," Joran said fiercely, cupping her face. "Maybe the moment you pulled me from that crash. I don't know when exactly, but Valera, this became real." They held each other as the crystal walls pulsed with bioluminescent light, both knowing that the storms were clearing, that rescue signals would soon penetrate the magnetic interference. The refuge that had sheltered them felt suddenly fragile, a bubble of impossible happiness that reality would soon puncture. The choice between stars. The rescue beacon pierced through on the 13th cycle, its persistent tone shattering the sanctuary's peace. Joran stood at the refuge entrance, watching distant lights descend through Thessra's clearing skies, his fleet, his old life, coming to reclaim him. Valera remained in the deeper chambers, giving him space to decide. But Joran had already chosen, had been choosing with every shared breath since that first memory extraction. He found her sitting among the luminescent pools where they'd first touched, where obligation had become something infinitely more precious. "They are here," he said simply. "I know." Her voice was steady, but her eyes glistened. "You should go. Return to your explorations, your missions. Don't let my customs trap you in a half-life on a forgotten moon." Joran knelt before her, taking both her hands. "You think this would be a half-life? Valera, I've spent years running from one star system to another, searching for something I couldn't name. And I found it here, in you, in this refuge. Not because you demanded payment, but because you showed me what I'd been missing, connection that's real, love that's worth more than any discovery. But your duty taught me to value the wrong things. Elena tried to tell me, and I was too blind to listen. I won't make that mistake twice." He pressed his forehead to hers. "I choose you. I choose this. Even if it means exile, even if it means never leaving the Sara again. Because home isn't out there among the stars, it's here, with you." Valera's composure finally broke, tears streaming down her face as she pulled him close. "You would truly give up everything." "I'm not giving up anything. I'm finally choosing what matters." Through the crystal walls, they heard the rescue team calling his name. Joran didn't move, and neither did Valera. When the calls faded and the ship eventually departed without him, they remained intertwined, two exiles who'd found their true sanctuary in each other. Months later, as they worked together maintaining the refuge, Valera smiled at him across the luminescent chamber. "No regrets." Joran crossed to her, pulling her into his arms. "Not a single one. Though I do wonder, was this your plan all along? To make me fall in love with you?" "The payment was always meant to create balance," she teased, her eyes sparkling. "I simply didn't expect to owe a debt of my own, my heart, freely given." Outside, magnetic storms danced across Thessra's surface, but inside their refuge, two souls from different worlds had created something the universe had never intended, and in doing so, discovered that love was the only balance that truly mattered. Lessons from the stars. True shelter is not found in walls of crystal or ships of steel, but in the hearts brave enough to choose love over duty, connection over isolation. The greatest payment we can offer another soul is not our strength or success, but our vulnerability, our authentic truth, our willingness to be truly seen.